What's up, you guys? I want to try, emphasis on try, to film like the cook with me's through the pantry challenge. I might not be able to do a whole in-depth video on like one specific meal, but I think I can put a video together of just clips, a little behind the scenes, and some thinking behind what I'm making during our freezer and pantry challenges. So today I went out in my freezers and pulled out a thing of ground venison, and I think what we're going to do is make a venison pot pie. Really different from what I normally do, because usually when we do pot pies we always do poultry, we'll do turkey or chicken, but today we're gonna do venison. We're gonna switch it up. When I have time, I love to just break out my Dutch oven and make my pot pie fillings in my Dutch oven because I think it tastes 100 times better. So what I'm going to do is cook my meat down, take my meat out, and then I'm gonna cook my veggies down in the fat that comes off the venison, which isn't gonna be a lot because venison's pretty lean, but it'll help add flavor and stuff. My filling for my pot pies, I love to go onions. I've got a couple potatoes in here. I have another bag of potatoes I'll pull out. I love to do carrots, and then I think I'm going to grab either some peas or some corn that's frozen. We're gonna throw those in there. I typically don't do green beans in my pot pies because my husband doesn't like green beans, so it's kind of just one of those things. I like to keep green beans as a side item just so he doesn't have to pick it out of whatever meal I'm cooking. So we're gonna get everything chopped up, sweating down, and get the venison in the Dutch oven, and then I'm going to attempt to make a pie crust. We're gonna see what happens. I don't have any butter. Typically I make a pie crust with cold butter, but one thing I forgot to buy this month was butter, so we're gonna use Crisco instead. I'm gonna use my mother-in-law's pie crust recipe, which for some reason never really works for me, but we're gonna give it a go. I'm gonna break out my food processor. We're gonna get that going. So let's hopefully try to make some sort of pot pie all from scratch. Let's go. We're cooking down the venison with my onions. Got those in here. I added in a ton of spices and some herbs and stuff. I wish I had thyme, but I don't. Thyme and venison go so well together. So I just put in some oregano and some basil, salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic, and then that onion. And we're just gonna go ahead and shut this and let that go for a while. I got my veggies chopped up, and I just put it actually right into the pie dish to kind of measure and see where things are sitting. That way I know if I want more veggies or not, if I need more veggies. So with our venison and the onions and things that are cooking down, we're gonna put those on here, and our gravy, and then some corn. I think this will be plenty, and then of course we'll get our pie crust on top and it'll be delicious. So we're just gonna kind of wait for that venison to cook down, and then this is already prepped and ready to go. I'm gonna get my pie crust going while Cleo is still sleeping, and hopefully get the rest of this coffee down before she wakes up as well. So here we are. Veggies are cooking down now. They're looking fantastic. I put a little bit of coconut oil in it just to give it a little bit of fat. Like I said, the venison's pretty lean. It would be different if it were cut with like pork or something or had some extra fat put into it, but it doesn't. So a little bit of coconut oil in there, and then I mixed up my pie dough. It actually looks pretty good. I can't give you the recipe because it's my mother-in-law's, and by her words only, it's marriage in. And that's it. I was married to my husband, I think, for like 4 or 5 years before I was able to get the pie crust recipe. She takes her recipes very seriously, so here's that. So I want to show you guys how I'm going to make my gravy. You're going to hear kids behind me. I'm probably going to be competing with them, but it's totally fine. I put in a knob of butter. All I'm going to do is put in a little bit of flour here. We're going to make a roux, and then I'm going to dump in some beef stock right on top. We're going to whisk it all together, and it's going to make basically a pan gravy from all the drippings off of the vegetables and the venison and stuff. This works really well if you're using a really fatty piece of meat like a steak or beef or anything like that. I do it with chicken too, but you're going to see this paste here forming on the bottom here, and then we're just going to dump in our stock on top of it, and it's going to make a really yummy gravy for us for our pot pie. Here's our filling, and here are my very sad pie crusts. I never get this recipe right, I'm very honest, but here we go. These are the best pie crusts I got. I'm gonna kind of mash them all together and get a pie crust over the top of it, and no one's gonna be none the wiser. Once it's baked, you won't really be able to tell that it's super patched anyways, so it'll be fine. But here's what we're working with right now. This is my best. Here's what our gravy looks like. It's a little thin now. I'm just gonna let it simmer for a couple minutes. It'll thicken up, and then it's just about pouring everything together in our pie dish and putting her in the oven. I also impulsively pulled out an apple crisp because I'm watching Becky from An Acre Homestead while I kind of put this together, and she had an apple crisp that she threw in her oven, and I went, you know what, I've got one of those in my freezer, let's throw that in too. So we've got that in there too. So that's gonna be dinner tonight, the apple crisp and our thing here. So my thinking tonight for dinner was, I pulled out this quiche. This is the quiche that we made together in a postpartum meal prep video. Broccoli, cheddar, cheese, heavy cream, milk, ham, onion, all the delicious, beautiful things. I've had a suspicion that Cleo may be lactose intolerant or have some milk issues. I've had other babies that have milk issues, and she was showing the same symptoms, so I cut out dairy. So that being said, I can't eat that quiche, which is really disappointing because quiche is so good. So I pulled it out and didn't even think, hey girl, you can't eat this with the rest of your family. So I pulled it out. I'm still gonna make it, and Joe can bring it for lunch with him, to work a couple days or whatever. What I am gonna do tonight instead, because it's 4 o'clock, I went to go put that in the oven and just realized that, girl, you cannot eat this. I have some home style, store-bought meatballs in here. I also have some french fries in here, and I have extra buns left over from Colt's birthday, so we're gonna use these, and I'm gonna make some meatball subs. I have mozzarella cheese in the fridge for people who can't have cheese, so we're just gonna do french fries, meatball subs tonight. Tuesday, so it's the second day for the week, and I remembered last Tuesday my oldest daughter went, Mom, it's Tuesday, why aren't we having tacos? So figured it's Tuesday, let's do Taco Tuesday, that way I don't get ridiculed again by my 7-year-old. So I set out 2 pounds of ground beef this morning, but I thought to make it a little bit different, I have some taco rice in my pantry. I'll throw that in with our taco meat, and then I was looking through my fridge, just trying to figure out what we have, my freezers, and I thought, you know what, why don't I do like a fresh salsa kind of. I've got some avocados, I've got some tomatoes, I got some corn in the freezer, and I figured throw all that together with a little bit of lime juice that I have in my fridge in here, and a little bit of like a raw white onion and pinch of salt, maybe just throw it all together, make a fresh salsa to put on top. Doesn't that sound good? So I figured let's do that, let's try the salsa, see how that goes over with my kids. I'm gonna have to chop my onions super, super tiny so my kids don't like pick it out or tell me that they don't want to eat it just because there's onions in it. But I'm gonna try that, see how it goes. So maybe start chopping up my salsa and get that in the fridge because that can sit for a little bit. Cleo's napping, so let's just go ahead and try to throw it together. And then that way all I have to do is kind of make my taco filling in a little bit. And I think we're gonna eat those in some hard shell tacos tonight because I don't have a lot of soft shells left. We went through a lot of them already. So let's do some hard shells and save the soft shell tacos for something else, because I didn't realize next week my kids only go to school 2 days next week, so they're gonna be home, so I'm gonna have to give them lunches at home too. So we'll see how that goes next week, but let's just focus on this week for now. So let's get some tacos and some salsa whipped up. Here's my very quick relish slash salsa. We'll see how this goes over. I've never done anything like this before, but I kind of want to try doing more stuff like this winter. That way come summertime I have a better idea of maybe what I want to put in the garden for some fresh eating and stuff like this. So there's that. We're going to see how this goes over. I'm just going to pop this in the fridge and let this sit until it's a little bit closer to dinner time. We're going to do chili tonight, but with the chili I want to do bread, and I've been doing a lot of crusty bread lately, so I figured I should just go back to like some soft, squishy, just loafed bread. I just taped my recipe here for my bread, and then this is my pizza dough recipe. I add garlic salt in it. That's not on the recipe, but it definitely makes a difference. That was a recommendation from one of you guys actually, and it's totally amazing. I love it. I've done it every time since, and I will not go back to not putting garlic salt in our pizza dough. But I just tape them up here, like right in where my spices are, and that way I don't have to look it up every time. I pretty much have it memorized by now, but sometimes if I'm doing a lot of things all at once, it's nice to have this here. So that's what I did. I've got my yeast, water, and honey kind of going, and I also took out some beef from the freezer for our chili tonight. I'm not gonna make a huge batch. Chili is one of those meals where you can just dump a ton of different stuff in it, get rid of a lot of stuff off of the pantry shelves and out of the freezers for garden veggies and stuff, so we're gonna do that. I have some avocados I need to use up, so I figure we could put some avocado on top of our chili. That sounds pretty good. So that's what we're gonna do tonight. But I gotta get this bread going here because this takes a while. I just pulled out my loaves of bread. I ended up doing 1 loaf of regular white bread, and then I made a loaf of cinnamon raisin bread just for breakfast for the rest, well, for the next couple days, I guess, or maybe even for dessert after dinner. My kids love cinnamon raisin bread, so we got those. I went shopping. I ended up bringing up 2 things of this chili base from the basement. I don't know how many I'm gonna need, so I just figured I'd bring up 2. I pulled out some green peppers out of the freezers. I brought up a thing of mushrooms, onion out of the fridge, another whole onion, and then I figured I would also throw in some corn. I've never thrown corn in my chili before, but why not? And then I also have a thing of tomato juice way back there. I'm gonna use the rest of that too. I am making the chili the way my husband likes it. So when I make chili the way I like it, it's more like soupy, I guess. It's, yeah, it's more like a soup. How my husband likes it is more like a stew, a lot thicker. So I have all my base in here right now. I'm just kind of letting everything cook down a little bit more. Lots of stuff from the freezer, which is awesome. And then we will scoop out our filling and we eat it over noodles. So I got a pot going for noodles here. I know noodles and chili is such a Midwestern thing, but that's how we eat it. So I've got this going for some elbow macaroni. I'm gonna let this cook down a little bit more, and then we're gonna throw in our chili base, which I'm so excited to try with all the garden fresh tomatoes and stuff that we did over the summer here, and really give that a taste test, see how that goes. I just want this to get a little bit more charry, develop a little bit more flavor before I dump that in. So that's what this is looking like, and it's starting to smell really good in here. Tonight I ended up making a really big roast in the crock pot, and I put in a ton of our dehydrated vegetables. I used the rest of the dehydrated celery. I threw in dehydrated zucchini. I'm eating mine over cauliflower rice because I can't do dairy. There's carrots in here, obviously the roast, onions, like all sorts of delicious things, and then everybody else is eating theirs over mashed potatoes. I just made this box stuff because I'm trying to get it used up and out of my house because we don't use this stuff anymore. I make everything from like real potatoes, but I'm pretty sure this is something we bought during the pandemic, just to have something on the shelf, and I don't want it anymore, so we're using this up. So big old thing of potatoes for everybody else, the riced cauliflower for myself, and lots of roast and gravy and beautiful veggies down in there. So that's what's dinner tonight. Today is Saturday night, so the last 3 days, or 2 days I guess, I made chili and then that stew that you guys saw that we did yesterday. Well, my fridge is full of leftovers. I have cauliflower rice and potatoes and noodles, and then the actual chili and the actual roast. There we go. We've been eating off of those for lunch for the last couple of days, and then today for dinner, me and the kids made just a cheese pizza and part of a stromboli here. So my plan for tomorrow is to actually not cook at all. I'll make breakfast obviously, but then for lunch and dinner we're gonna have leftovers buffets probably. I might make a loaf of bread to go with it. That usually helps things go over better. I might make an extra like vegetable or something fresh out of the freezer just to have something new as an option that usually helps get the leftovers used up better. So we're gonna get those. Normally what I would do if nobody wanted to eat the chili or the rest of that roast is I would actually put them in the freezer, but because we're trying to clean things out of the freezer so I can organize things, I don't want to do that. So we're gonna do a leftovers buffet tomorrow, which means I don't have to cook, which is awesome because tomorrow is Sunday, and Sunday is like the big house reset. We get things ready for the week, so I'm just not gonna cook. So that's basically going to wrap up this week for dinners and things, so make sure you guys stay tuned. More dinners coming. Make sure you're looking out for those YouTube shorts that we're putting up, and I will catch you guys in another video. Control and the steps you take them. I try to pick one thought, have some concentration, and if I make a mistake, it's called education. I try to do this every day, call it replication. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.